Open your mind to the way, the conscious way, the way of conscious mindfulness. With me, SiFU Boggie. SiFU means guide, muse, somebody who points you along the way, who helps you find your path. Boggie is the balancer between the chaos and the calmness. And for the last 40 years, I have studied the Taoist arts. The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. And I have studied things like Tai Chi, Qigong, Tic-Tac, Tui Na, Chinese massage, drunken shaman, dragon dog shaman, Tai Chi Tong Long, one of my favourites, and many other different techniques to help you find your way, your path, your balance. And I've helped over the last 40 years, I've helped people with fibromyalgia, chronic pain, ME, MS, arthritis, migraines, like back problems. But I've also helped people in the FT 100 and 500 index businesses supercharge themselves, open up their abilities, increase their focus, and ensure they never burn out. So that's what I do. That's my Tao, my way. What's this show all about? Well, this show is The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, a weekly podcast show discussing spirituality and science, balancing and blending it with health and well-being and mind, body and spirit, with a Taoist twist. What does the Tao mean? The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. Now, this isn't a normal show. Anything with me in it definitely is not normal. Each week, we either have a subject or a guest. We finally have a guest. I finally found them. And our goal, our aim is to have an open discussion to help us all find new techniques, new ways to balance our very own personal way, path, or Tao. And without further ado, here he is, the man himself, the awesome, the fantastic, the slightly mystical, because it's taken us about 10 minutes to find each other. Welcome, Kirk. Welcome back, my dear friend. It's been a while. It's good to see you. It's good to see you survive the mayhem. How are you doing?
I'm okay, Paul. Can you hear me? How's the sound check? It's all right?
All good. It's all good in the hood. I can hear you well. So, I mean, I've asked that question, a couple of times. You've been on my show a couple of times in the last 6 years and the last 300 shows, but I'll ask it for the viewers anyway. So this is your show. This is The Way of Kirk Kerber. So, Kirk, what is your way? What is your personal Tao?
All right, let's just draw a circle here. So we're inside the sacred circle, and chaos can't touch us for at least an hour. Shakti, namaste. Paul, I don't know, I mean, I had my first meditation experience at like 10 or 12 years old. I stepped out of time. I just naturally started meditating. This is in the 60s, I'm 60 years old. I've been studying and been in this body with these circumstances for 40 years. And so this is our fourth interview.
Okay.
I looked and I saw the last one was in 2017 or 18. And, the last one was called Medicine, Magic, Miracles. I mean, I was called. My life doesn't belong to me. So, yeah, I mean, I give readings. I've had readings. I'm a triple Gemini with a Pisces rising. I got a Scorpio in the 8th house. And there's every indication in my chart, astrologically supported through astrological grid, also being an initiated shaman. So I do have the power and the ability. I had the raw talent, and I stepped into it. I was obsessed. As you know, I've produced over 700 TV shows on all things supernatural, spiritual, mystical, and magical. Shakti, namaste, live from New York. So I don't, right now, let's see, to get present, uh, we're post COVID, we're walking out of it. I don't want to bill myself as a predictive psychic, and I'm kind of getting away from just being a psychic medium. I happen to be a healer, so I'm just going to draw that line. I'm a healer that happens to be psychic. I have mediumship capability for my clients. I have the gift of reading past lives. And I also, in a shamanic sense, have the gift of releasing past lives for the people that come to me when they're stuck. Having said that, since the last time we spoke, I was quadruple certified in PTSD, trauma recovery, rapid induction, Ericksonian. So my modalities have expanded. And, a person like me, I mean, your life doesn't belong to you. You kind of go where you're kicked, you know what I mean? Like, you sit down on the bus and, God says, give this person a message or give them a healing. I've been meditating over 20 years, right in this very spot. And, it's, there's 400 hours worth of content online of me speaking specifically and generally about all things metaphysical. So my way, I think you would be better versed in woo-wee. Is it woo-wee where you allow the divine intelligence? So my job is, if somebody wants to book time with me or get a healing, I have all 7 clairs: clairvoyant, clairaudio, and it's a little daunting to be that sensitive. I mean, my finger's on the pulse, whether I want it to be or not. But I agreed to be available for people. And, but the psychic mediumship in the past lives, it takes a lot of bandwidth. It just, the readings can go on for 5 to 7 hours. But my basic, I just tell everybody it's back to the breath. Allow the concept of allow divine intelligence. And the reason I mention the clairs is because there's also something which I'm sure that you have accrued as well. It's called a claircognizant knower. So when you're working with somebody, there's a divine intelligence that materializes, and you have the gift of claircognizant knowing, what does this person need to hear? What is this person, other than the obvious things that we've both studied. So I don't know. I'll put that out there. That's about enough, I think, in 2022.
Yeah. I mean, has it, in 20, the last 2 years, has it been a rough journey? Because I hear there was a lot happening in New York. There was a lot of, it was getting like a lot closed down. There seemed to be a lot of pressure in New York and a lot of fear. Have you been? Because you're not one to fall for fear. The Kirk I know is you don't get scared easily. You're not baffled. You're not frightened by big scary monsters can come and you go, yes, step in line. It's like you definitely that always have had that presence around you. Or that presence. So, I mean, has it been tough 2 years? Has it just been more work? What has it been for you?
Well, people would call in on my TV show and they would say, do you have any predictions or do you have messages? And I always refuse that. And I had 2 major prophecies. And I had a prophetic vision from some high-level avatar spirit guides about 3 months before 9/11. And they came to me and they said, the first thing they said was, they're really going to do it. And so you hear a lot of things. I mean, having your ear open and all of your psychic channels. I mean, it's a negotiation of filters. But when these guides came to me, I was like, these are not like regular, this is like an angelic voice, somebody is saying. And they said, we can't explain what's going to happen, but you need to take your money out of the bank and you're going to have money for 3 months. So to directly address your question. So it was 2019 into 2020, and in the middle of January of 2019, was it? I got sick, and it was before the virus was in the country. And, you know, I don't really watch the news. That's part of my own being an empath. It's too much for me, and I don't need, if I need to go in to the collective conscious soul, I will, to like throw in love and light. But usually I'm just kind of like, do not interfere. You can watch, but you don't interfere. So, you know, the path of the loner. And I saw, but I just happened to see a news thing on CNN. Oh, there's some weird virus in China. And so I just happened to have a doctor's appointment scheduled, and I couldn't breathe. I was like, something's wrong. And I told my daily advisor who I speak to, I said, so, this like virus is going from my lungs. Like I can't take a full breath. So I go to the hospital where my doctor's in a clinic in the hospital, and we get a regular checkup. And then I say, you know, I've got this weird flu, I guess. And I said, what's going on with that virus in China? And she says, oh, we've all the emergencies. Mount Sinai is the largest group of hospitals. She said Mount Sinai has already gone through all of the protocols for emergency pandemic. And I went, huh? And I walked out of the hospital. And so the same guides, these really high level, like right to me, no bullshit, no noise. They were like, go home, get the money in the house, and buy 3 months worth of groceries right now. And I was like, this motherfucker, this mofo is going to be freaking, this is it. So I didn't get the full idea, you know, they just were like, prepare for the iceberg. So I was already prepared, and I didn't have to go to the grocery store. I mean, the food, you know, there was panic buying and just panic. And I was just able to sit here in my pajamas with my little doggy soulmate. And, you know, I mean, in New York City, I've been here since '84. The gay community had to deal with another virus 30 years before that, when the HIV crisis was exploding, and, you know, nobody would talk about it. The president wouldn't talk about it. I was watching people I knew and loved die, gay and straight. And so that was terrifying. So I'd already been kind of, and I was like, just detach, just observe. I didn't really try to get in there and like create videos. I didn't create any new content for 2 years. And I was like, you know, humanity obviously has to have this arc for whatever reason, a new relationship to, it was a reckoning, I thought. And so I'd already been through so many reckonings that, you know, so yes, in answer to your question, I did not, the best I could, did not connect. I live in Hell's Kitchen in Midtown Manhattan, right off of Times Square. Yeah, it was scary, weird shit. I mean, I went outside a couple times. I had to get some dog food, and we were under complete lockdown. Somebody stole my dog's dog food from Amazon. And so I just was like, you know, I got to go out and get it. And the streets it really was like Apocalypse Now. And then at night also, I thought a couple times, they're just going to jump right over the fire escape. I mean, they were looting and bombing. Everything was boarded up, and people were rioting. Our mayor was incompetent. And I I really like just kind of sat there and was like, I don't believe my eyes. And I kind of just, I wasn't in shock. It didn't throw me. That's correct. I've seen it all. I've had 5 near-death experiences.
Mm.
I've looked in the face of evil and done extractions as a shaman. I've heard the voice of God and angels. So yeah, I was pretty even. I didn't like that I couldn't get a haircut for over a year. And I was in the same pajamas, but yeah, we had plenty of food. I paid the rent, and I kind of would just like the stuff I've learned in recovery, day at a time.
Yeah.
The collective mind is trying to figure out what it wants to do, I think.
Mm. And yeah, it's been, yeah, it was that I had a similar experience. Well, yeah, in 2019 in November, same thing. Now, or it should be noted, I've been sick for 10 years. Like, up to that point, for 10 years, never been major sick. The only thing I had was got knocked off my bicycle, and scratched all this side of the face. They said it was going to need a skin graft, and I fixed it within a couple of days. So apart from that, I'd never been ill for ages. And then November the 19th, I was super ill. I couldn't breathe, and it was like, what is this? This is different. This is something different. And that was the only time. Since then, nothing. Since then, test after test. Everybody else has been falling around me with it, and I've been fine. But it was that one time. It was that same sort of thing. But for me, it was sort of like, it was like a cocoon. It was like breaking out of a cocoon. That restriction is getting through that. It helped me advance, if that makes sense. And I think for me that there is definitely a sign of that. I think it's some sort of moving forwards. But the chaos of people, yeah, that was interesting in the essence of is that something radically changes in society, and certain people in society seem to want to break down. You seem to get this anarchy. You seem to get this, and it's always the interesting thing of like if angels landed from heaven, or UFOs landed, there is that thing of there is certain reports that said that they don't think people could handle it. They think looting and rioting would happen because they don't, and it's like maybe they were proven right. There was definitely, and obviously it wasn't just New York. I know it's lots of places all over. Not so much in England, but definitely there were places where this happened. And yeah, it was an interesting time to say the least. For you personally, or do you? I know you're the observer, the way, but you think there's more? You think we're even? We're coming out the other side now. What do you feel?
Well, Taoism and Taoist alchemy, dictates that the heavier parts, the lead of us and our psyches and the collective soul, it needs to be pruned and cut away and distilled into gold. Now, having said that, here's a couple things. This psychic medium, prophetic book writer, Sylvia Brown, who has passed, but about 10 years ago, her swan song was, "Here are all my prophecies before," and she was getting ready to pass. And so she listed in this book, there's no fake in that one. You can Google it and look it up online. She listed in the book, and she said there's going to be a worldwide pandemic and a virus that's going to attack people's lungs. It's going to show up, and the whole world is going to be thrown into chaos. Mm. So I was watching the news, but really, for me personally, I think it was for the benefit of the collective soul. I think that there was a lot of chaos and confusion and anxiety just under the surface. It didn't create chaos. It exposed the chaos and incompetence that was already there. So I did have kind of a knowing sense of, I mean, we've had blackouts in New York and looting. I live right in Midtown Manhattan. I live 2 blocks away from the largest subway system in the entire world. It's, international, thousands and hundreds of thousands of people every couple of days. So, I was kind of acclimated and I just detached. I was like, this really is for the benefit. There had to be a reckoning. And that's what I kind of saw personally and politically in our country. Our mayor was completely incompetent. I won't be political, but like whatever was obvious became all the more obvious. If you needed a divorce or you were in a bad living thing, whatever it was, I already had the grounding technique. I still hit the bed right here every day. I still meditated. If somebody wants to talk to me, they can get a hold of me. I did do some, sessions with people and try to quell their own personal, that asked me to, but I just stood back. I didn't go and get in the middle of it. And then now we had the George Floyd Black Lives Matter thing on top of it. I'm like, here comes another scoop. So my read, collectively was, it's going to be chaos. I felt like it would level out. I didn't know when. Now I had COVID or very various thing of COVID 3 times and I wore a mask. And then my dog had like some weird thing as well, twice, like high fever for 3 days. And I mean, basically, I just put on Facebook maybe one time, said, the collective consciousness trying to figure out what the hell. It's like the Matrix doesn't know what the hell it wants to do. Does it want to destroy us? Does it want to heal us? And so it was fascinating.
Definitely. Definitely. And I mean, there's always, there's a whole thing in both the Taoists, and the ancient knowledge saying that, the more you look, the more you find. And science knows that the more they look into space, the more they actually find. But it's an interesting thing on like even the Schumann residence has been going crazy for the last 3 years. It's been going up and down all over the place. And there is a thing of NASA reported. This was actually back in 2010 that there's an Oort cloud or a cosmic dust cloud, which is actually within old prophecies. They talk about the age of enlightenment, the age of Aquarius, the golden age, the golden race. It happens every 26,000 years, and it seems to have coincided or at the same time, NASA reported back in 2010 that there is this cosmic dust cloud over 2,000 light years big that we were heading into, that the solar system, not just Earth, the solar system was heading into, and that energy was affecting every single atom. It was actually affecting all the planets and the gas giants as well as the sun. They did sort of quietly report that back in 2010 and emphasized it again in 2012. Well, it's 2,000 years long. That's a long freaking time. So that means we're in it. And it's interesting, we're thinking, especially over since then to now, so the last 10 years, the sun has been getting more and more, there's been more and more effects on the sun, more and more effects. Now, obviously, we've been saying, global warming. And I'm not saying we haven't dirtied the planet with our shoes, but every planet, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, they're all heating up over the last 20 years. So something else is going on. There is something else going on. And I think, like I say, with the Schumann resonance, it is definitely, that affects us, that affects energy, that affects us. And I think we're trying to ride a big wave. And I think you know, like the whole thing with COVID. COVID's just one little thing. Like, you know, like the Black Lives Matter. All of these are they're all under the surface. All that, you know, that anger and frustration is all on the surface, and all universe has done is giving something to release it. Is pinched it, poked it. And that's how, you know, it feels at times.
Okay, so we're leaving the age of Pisces. Now, nobody can really decide when the next stage is starting. Some people are like, we're in it. It started. Hands Across America or something where everybody held hands, or the harmonic convergence 30 years ago. Oh, this is a start. And but so let's just back it up. So for 2,000 years, astrologically, the history of this planet is really its war and its violence. And it's not spiritual involvement, it's addiction. And so anytime you get Pisces in a chart, or a person that's I'm a Pisces rising, it almost always means addict. Always means it's deep underground, it's poetic, it's underwater, but it's not practical and it's not grounded. And so we've been in the age of Pisces, and what's been supported astrologically: war, the gods of sex and death and war and drunkenness. It's not a moral issue, but that's what was supported. And masculine energy, this male forward Apollo Mars attack. And so all of a sudden, you know, in specific relation to what you were saying, astrologically, that stuff is not being supported anymore, and it's on its way out. So I tell my clients, you know, like in a movie where they're about to kill the monster and the monster's dying, the monster makes the loudest noise before it dies, you know. And so, you know, now we're entering into Aquarius, and what is Aquarius is a deep occult, individualism. The divine feminine is now supported, and a divine masculine in a different way is also encouraged. And so when you look at like America, and you hear about the culture wars, you know, you've got this alt-right and you've got this woke left, these extremes, and they're personifying and typifying the clash of these two ages, banging into each other and saying, you know, the alt-right is, we want control and practicality, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the left is saying, you know, I'm transgender and the LGBTQ, and, you know, we want equality for everybody, and there is no hierarchy, get rid of it, burn it all down. So it's like kaboom. It's like really, and it's anybody's guess. I mean, I have people that I consult as professional astrologers, you know, so I guess maybe I would ask them, you know, to tell me. But so that's what I think is happening.
Mm.
You know, here's like, you've got Elon Musk, Branson, and Bezos. So these are three of the biggest powerhouses, you know. Elon is the Nikola Tesla of our time. And what are they doing? They're all building spaceships because either they know something, which I don't particularly want to look at, but psychically, but Elon is saying he doesn't believe there's hope for humanity. He doesn't believe there is. And so if he said this publicly, it's not a psychic read. I don't believe there's any hope, and our only hope is to colonize on the moon and on Mars, and it's the only way that the human race will go on. So you know, having said that, without going into the multiverse, the quantum jumping, the timeline jumping, everybody gets the, you know, the experience they signed up for. It's a big light show. It's a big light show. You know, what are you guys going to do next? What are the, you know, is the planet and the grid, was it written by devils, or is it created by a loving intelligence? And this is all for our benefit, you know, and so it's good to see you here in body, Paul, and, you know, my dog and the people we encounter, oh, like we recognize them. So where it's going to end up, I don't know. The only other wild card at this point is the environment. And I don't completely trust that the environment's going to hold together. And I think it's probably a little sooner than most people think before things are so debilitated that, you know, you don't realize how fragile the system is. I mean, if Yellowstone blows in California, which they've said it's coming, that's like at least over 50% of America's food supply is all grown. And if there was an ash cloud, boom. So we're done there. You know what I mean? Volcanoes, earthquakes. So it's exciting. It's definitely exciting. You know, so I don't know. I mean, I don't ask my guides things like that. And, you know, just to reiterate, you know, they come to me and say, look out, you know, go buy 3 months worth of groceries. It's going to be, you know, chaos. So right now I don't have any messages, but I do have the message that things are probably going to wrap themselves up a little quicker than most people realize. If the collective, now having said that, if the collective consciousness gets together and decides they want to shift this planet, the planet will accommodate us. I believe that. But people are so degraded, in a sense. It's not a moral issue. You know, I meet everybody where they are. But between the toxic food, the psych meds, the insane amounts of media panic that they try to put into your mind, and, you know, there are beings in charge or around that they want humanity to be degraded. And people don't understand that. You're a woke person. You know, you're also like a chef that has to do with mindfulness and being connected to the planet. But, you know, over here in the cesspool of America, I mean, you know, it's a freaking nightmare. I thank God I'm in New York, but because, you know, there's just intelligence here. Yeah. But you know, if I wake up and everything's blowing itself up, I don't think I'll be surprised. And if there's some kind of like trumpet that I hear, or like, hey, new grid, you know, people are saying new grid. I mean, I put out these videos and they say, welcome, this is Kirk Kerber, welcome to the age of Aquarius. Welcome to the age of Aquarius. So I'm trying to do my best to like widen the portal. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You know, this is why, you know, I love you as a brother for many years, my friend, because I think you're freaking awesome. And you say, you know, like me, you talk about, like, you know, just being an observer, and it's like a long time. Well, actually, when I was like 6, I remember, I was remembering or dreams that felt real. Different lives of being adults, and, you know, being a monk, being a woman, being many different people. But I also lived in a time with a loving mum, but a mum, if you cough, oh my God, you've got bubonic plague, we must take you to the doctor. So I learned quickly not to talk about what I experienced, because it would be seen as madness. It'd be seen as crazy. So for a long time, I've kept the stuff to myself. And you know, my philosophy has always been, you know, this world could fall apart. This world could literally, you know, turn into dust. But our consciousness, as far as I feel, as far as I know, our consciousness is immortal. it'll go and find another planet. We'll go somewhere else. We'll go and watch the madness from some other corner of the universe. So I'm very much an observer. I'm just here for the show. I'm just here. I'm here to try to help. If people want it, I'll help. I won't push it on. I'm not a preacher. I'm definitely a SiFU. I'll point you and help you as much as you want, but I won't make you do stuff. Or I'm not a master. I'm definitely a SiFU. And certain things of I've always sort of landed into interesting roles. I've actually worked in the last I'm 52, so I'm the baby brother of this union, and I've done close protection. I've worked for a couple of agencies. I've heard and seen some crazy stuff. I've been to Wudan Mountain in China, the 5 mountains, and I always joke that the Wudan Mountain is like Stonehenge on acid while on a roller skate. Really weird stuff happens there. So I've seen some very strange, interesting stuff. And at the end of the day, what happens. What I do know, especially the keen philosopher of epigenetics, and your mood, what you think and feel, truly does affect your health, your well-being. And for whatever reason, lots of people, not 2020 was just the cherry on top of the cake. We've been living in fear and living in worry and doubt and anger and fighting us and them for a long time. You said it yourself about the age of Pisces. So if we want to evolve, we've got to get past that fear and hatred. We've got to realise, hold up, this is just a surface. This is stick our head above water and we can breathe again. We've got to start seeing things in a different way. We've got to, you never solve violence with violence. You solve violence by start thinking. You solve violence by changing. If you're in panic and you start breathing, you can release that panic and you can move above it. But if you hold your breath or you focus on that fear, that will pull you down. So I can't disagree with like you said. If it was all to turn to dust tomorrow, I can't disagree with that. But I would hope there's enough of us going, let's change the course. Let's go the different direction. And I've seen the science that literally backs that the observer affects the experiment, that what you believe is true and you change reality. And people, I don't, well, you can not believe in it because that's the whole point. The law of one states what that you all have free will. You can believe in what you like. But I know about the FBI case studies starting off in 96 all the way up to 2001, where they had 100, 500, 2,000, 7,000 people. They ended up focusing on positivity, and they changed. They dropped the crime rate by 70% worldwide. The second to last one was in the state of Washington, the city-state of Washington. They dropped the crime rate for a whole weekend by 25% with just 2,000 people. So that, that's evidence. There's proof there. I know there's 20,000 case studies that prove reincarnation exists. You only need, in science, 800 case studies for science normally to accept something. Why is there 20,000 and we're still going, oh, well, we're not sure? Because it changes things. It changes the narrative. If you was to go, you're immortal, you have the power to create and change reality. If 1/3 of the planet was to truly understand that, things would change. Probably not even 1/3, 10%.
Okay, so when I was doing my TV show, Going Out Live, I used to start the show sometimes, forget everything you know about reality because it's wrong. And, if I'm really going to work and mentor somebody, they want a mentorship, it's just easier if I just tell them, forget everything you know about reality and facts because it's wrong. Now we can start and that's very Taoist. You know what I mean? Let's just begin at the beginning. Now we can start with a clean slate, and you can have an open mind. And, I do this exercise. It's called FFR, where if I'm working with somebody, we rewrite their reality, foundation for reality. We're going to rewrite it for you. And that's an exercise energetically, mentally, psychically that I do. What would you like your reality to be like? Walking in the door, what's going on here? So, I'm in recovery from drug addiction, cocaine, and every other kind of, addiction there was. And so what they tell you is that you've built up an energy of it in addiction and alcoholism. That's your habit energy, right? So you walk in the door and this habit energy is out of control. And so what you have to do is you have to ask a higher power to give you divine grace a day at a time from that toxic bonfire that's out of control and needs to be medicated. You have this wounded trauma reality that everything relies on, and then you put the medication in the chaos and the insanity, and panic and pandemonium happens. So what you do is they tell you, just like I tell my clients, like, it's better if you've smashed the lower personality completely, which is a great thing, because that's where we can really start to let the divine intelligence, the light in, let the light out. And so in the end of active drug addiction, what's happening is people don't realize this, but they are projecting their worst fears and demons onto reality all over the place, and they can't stop it. Like that kind of trance of addiction and alcoholism, and you're in that every day, you're pulling from your darkest id, your darkest, sensuality, and it comes and it bites you on the ass, and boom, all of a sudden, you get clean. And so you rebuild your entire reality from that point. So that was 38 years ago, where that was just one of several deaths and rebirths. So, I do tell people, like, reality is a lot more pliable and flexible than you would ever guess at, than you would ever, I've had instant manifestations. So as a shaman and an earth person, an earth shaman, I've had the weather respond to me instantly, instantaneous. I got mad once, and a white squall just tore the whole beach up. And I was in my 20s, I didn't know what the hell, I'm like, was that me? Yeah, it was. Like, I get really pissed off and there's thunder and lightning. So then I started to consciously try, I really like fog. I just like this Batman, gothic, foggy Gotham, so and to create fog is one of the hardest things to do, because it can't really be cold, but it can't be warm. And this warm and cool layer has to meet to create, it's really hard. And so I was like, I ordered fog from the universe. Like, my birthday's coming up, I'd really like 2 days of fog. And there it is. So, we're into you and I both are into this Obi-Wan Kenobi Jedi. Like, I did an experiment, and, I don't think I would really repeat this in public, so to speak, because people just can't deal with it. They'll attack you. They want power, and they want unlimited power and creative power for themselves. But, if you have a corrupted mind, then you don't want it for anybody else. Like, that's the rub. But anyway, so right in the middle of pandemic, we're in lockdown almost a year, no end in sight, and I throw an unconditional love spell over the entire planet. I'm just like, and I just go on Facebook, and everybody's like, "Oh, I feel so much better." Like all the comments, you know, I didn't announce it. And then I later came on social media and I was like, yeah, I threw a spell over the entire planet for love, just for like one day. Like, let's see if people responded. So your mind, you know, so if my mind is like working like that in the collective, and yours and other people like us, the people we interview and the people you interview, then you can only kind of imagine that we're like under the influence of these other psychotic, corrupted minds in charge of corporate America, in charge of the military. Their mind is affecting us everywhere. You understand? And so I don't know where that's going, but if, you know, all the betas of the world, and I'll be a beta, you know what I mean? Like if we all got together and supported by this age of Aquarius and then did a conscious, mindful, you know, people have been, Deepak was trying this, like we're going to have a worldwide day of prayer. And at 11/11, we all throw in, you know, so maybe the COVID was the response to that. Like, here comes the chaos. It's the darkest before the dawn type of thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're putting in this harmony. And then 5 years later, it's fucking chaos is everywhere. That is in direct relationship. Like, okay, you know, you wanted change. Change is here. Right? Go.
There's an old Taoist saying, you know, a little story like called the splashback. And it's the whole thing, if the water's going one way in a pot and then you want to change it, you put your finger in, you start, or your spoon, you start stirring the water the other way. The first thing that happens, you get resistance, then you get chaos. As you start stirring the water the other way, it starts splashing, it gets more, it starts going over the side, but eventually it calms down and it goes that new way. But you always get that chaos before the calmness. What Boggie, what my martial art name meant was the chaos before the calmness. Sort of like, a little bit like the Loki, you know, it's that whole idea of that things will get crazy, or things, you know, you're unfit, you want to get fit. You start training, what happens? You feel like crap. You know, you may even be sick a couple of times when you start training. And then eventually you get over that and you start getting into the pattern of your health changes. There's always chaos before calmness. There's always, you know, is that people try to see things as opposing opposites, which is ironic because the symbol with the black and white, the two little dots that people say yin yang, its true name is Tai Chi. If you type in Tai Chi symbol, you get that symbol. So why do they call it yin yang? Well, it contains yin and yang, but you have the shady side of the hill, yin, which also means feminine. It also means contracting. There's a whole list of stuff it means. You have the sunny side of the hill, yang, also means masculine, also means light and expanding, the whole list of things. But when you put them together, you get the hill, you get the balance. And balance in the East, or the ancient knowledge of balance, wasn't a flat line. We think of scales, we try to balance, we'll make things flat. Flat is like flat line, as in flat line, like, dude, you don't want a flat line, you want the balance to be flowing. And that's why the Tai Chi symbol, you turn it on the side, it's a wave. You know, that's the whole point. It is a wave. And it's this understanding of that, you know, this is that to change things, yes, there will be a little bit of chaos, or there will be chaos, but it's because it's been controlled for so long, it's because it's been manipulated for so long, things are breaking up. I mean, I will personally say that the Darker Bell, the Luma Donkey, whatever you want to call them, the dark side of the Force, the Sith, they, you know, that things are changing so much that they're losing grip, that there's too much. They, you know, they can only control so much at once, and it's getting more and more and more, and it's getting too much. A lot of people call it waking up, ascending. A lot of people are starting to see what's going on more and more and more. It's changed. You can just see in the last 20 years, or I have seen in the last 20, 30 years, there's a lot more people asking questions than they did 20, 30 years ago. There's a lot more people that want to look into spirituality than there was 20, 30 years ago. But a little less, or more, all in the clouds, and a little bit more balanced. The mist, I love you brought up the mist, because in the Taoism, in the true symbol of Tai Chi, the bit in the middle is the mist. They call it the Tao. One of the words of Tao means mist. It means path, balance, way, or mist. It's elusiveness. It means it's the balance between. And the funny thing of Star Wars and the Jedi, George Lucas admitted that he actually based Star Wars, the philosophy of Star Wars, on Taoism. And Chi, the Force is Chi. Now, in original, now Walt Disney's changed it slightly for whatever reasons, but in the original canons that George Lucas created, was that Luke Skywalker didn't actually die. He went off, and he went off. He realised there was something wrong. He kept trying to create, another Jedi school. I think he tried 2 times, and it all went terribly wrong. And so after, and obviously the first one had already collapsed. And he went on a big journey, and he found the original temples in the story of Star Wars. He found the original temples of the Jedi, and he found that the Sith and the Jedi weren't the first ones. You had Grey Code, or the Grey Jedi, and the Grey Code balanced both the light and the dark side of the Force. They embraced both. And what happened, there was a disagreement, and suddenly, from that disagreement, it split into 2, and you had the Jedi and you had the Sith. And then for thousands of years in the story, these 2 have been clashing. And then he realised this, and he said, now we have to bring the grey back. We have to bring, the grey is the silver mist. And it's the whole idea of understanding that you can't, darkness and light, they exist because they're meant to exist, but it's balance them. You still need emotions, you still need passion, but you need to balance that. You need to, listen. Yes, your head is logic, but you need to listen to your heart. You need to start listening to that heart more. The brain cells in the heart, we know this. The heart even creates this bioelectric magnetic field that actually, when that expands, when we're in happiness and unconditional love, it literally heals us. They know this in epigenetics. And it's this electric field, which looks like a Torah field, which is the flower of life, or the divine feminine. So the divine feminine is here. The divine masculine is, or the masculine, when it's out of sync, is here. But the divine masculine is either Archangel Metatron in the West. In China, he's called General Guan. General Guan, or Guan Yu, is this big, awesome dude. Big flowing silky robes, big long beard, and he has this awesome big spear staff thing. And he's a warrior, but he doesn't want to fight. He's here to protect and guide, and he wants to be there if things go wrong. If things go wrong, he'll sort them out. But he's not there to fight. He's not there to create war. That is divine masculine, and that's where I think we're heading. We've just got to get our heads out of our butts, and we've got to stop living in the fear. We've got to start realizing it's like if you've been controlled. I mean, I got bullied as a kid, and people wanted me to be in fear. The bullies wanted me to be afraid. As soon as I started realizing, I'm not afraid. As soon as I stood up and go and hit me then. What's the worst you can do is put me in hospital or kill me. And I believe in reincarnation, so go ahead, kill me, I don't care. Suddenly, whoa, you're a scary person. Whoa, back off. And I suddenly realised that's where the power is that it's a tough one for a lot of people to realise, but fear is us giving people power. Anger is us giving people power. To get our power back, we have to stay centered and find, and when a dog's barking at you, when you go the dog barking at you, if you go, what's wrong? What's wrong? And you keep cool and calm, the dog suddenly goes, hold up, what's going on? You were being scared, you were scared, or you were upsetting me. Well, what? And they change. I've done this to dogs. They've literally changed. I've also I've been to haunted houses where they're supposed to be super scary, and I've stayed sentenced and everything stops. I did this in Russia. There's a KGB prison that's always got poltergeist in there. Always, it happens all the time. I went in there, 3 breaths, I went in there, boom, everything stops. And the people that worked in there all the time almost pooped their pants. They were so scared because they said, why has it stopped? It never stops. I left, it all started back up again. And that scared them even more because they said, who is that man? Who is he? and the darkness can only be affected if your light's not strong enough. You shine your light, you find your calmness, you find your balance, you find the mist, then you can balance the light and the dark. That's the whole thing. But hey, what do I know?
Okay, so yes, absolutely. I completely agree. So when I'm working with somebody, I tell them the first thing you're going to do for 3 months is just focus on your breath. And they think I'm crazy and why should I do this? And I'm like, because like you have to trust me. But what happens is when this stuff starts spitting itself out of our psyches, when we're being in the process of alchemy to get to a purified self, you can't react. And if you don't have a grounding place to go back to your breath, you're going to panic and then you're going to react. And, you know, like they say, if you die in the Matrix, you die. I mean, you know, it's a video game. It's like, well, you know, you did, as long as you guess. So I'm trying to convince these people your projection onto reality is an actual thing, and they don't believe you. They don't believe you. So, you know, when I was studying and learning everything, I had a bartending job in Midtown Manhattan in Times Square. It was a 500-seat restaurant. This is where I really learned to read energy and read people. And so we had this this manager, this woman, and she just took a dislike to me immediately. She tried to get me fired. And I mean, this went on for like months and years with this woman. I will find a way to get rid of you. And blah, blah, blah. And so I was terrified of her, you know, it was some issue with my family, with mommy, with my parents, or an issue of scarcity. And then one day she came up to the bar and she went into her rant, and I just pulled my energy back. Like I just finally didn't respond, you know, because she would jump right into the solar plexus chakra and just drill you, you know. And so once again, back to the breath, I had my breathing in order and I pulled my energy off, and she just looked at me and she like smiled. Like she couldn't, she was like, oh, he figured it out. And she never, she never did it again. Like that rant was, you know, I just went, you know, the tractor beam in Star Wars where they just turn it off. It was like, woo. So once again, you know, your projection onto the room. Now we're getting into some deep matrix, you know, law of attraction type of stuff. But yes, you know, the Plato's cave, you know, you're trying to tell them like, look, don't panic. That's why it takes 3 to 6 months to go to the breath. The most important thing you can do is just, so when I'm watching all this stuff happen, you know, I was just sitting here like, breathe, meditate. What today is different than yesterday? You know, or you can watch the news and you can panic and you can overdose and you can toxify and you can, you know what I mean? If you draw some conclusion, but don't panic, don't take the bait, right? And then you are the master at that point. You start becoming the master of your universe.
Yeah, and that's, you know, for me, that, you know, that's the point. I mean, global ascension, global awakening. Of course, I want that, but it's also about you. It's also about and there is that whole thing. I've used this analogy a lot. There's a great saying about there was a little girl on a beach, or there was a beautiful beach, and this beach was full of hundreds of thousands of starfish. And this guy walking along, thinking, all these starfish are dying. Oh, how terrible. And he sees this little girl, and this little girl picks up a starfish, says something, or kisses it, says something, and then throws it in the water. And he's watched her, starts watching her for like half an hour or so, and she's doing this every single one. And he eventually walks up and says, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm saving this goldfish," and puts it back in the water. And he says, "But there's hundreds of thousands, there's millions here. You can't save all of them, but I can save this one, and I can save this, and I can save this one." And it's the this one is you. That's the ultimate thing. You are a starfish. Focus on you, and everything else will sort itself out. Is even as a healer, it is in the healing, in the Taoist principles of healing, you don't heal people. I don't heal people. I give you the techniques for you to heal you. You heal you. I don't heal you. You heal you. I help you. Here, do this. Here, do that. Don't work. Okay, cool. Try this. Okay, try this. We find what works for you, but I don't heal you. And it's that understanding that changes for me. That changed a lot of stuff. Is that it's actually all about. It's always all about you. You change your own reality. You change your own perception. And there are so many, when you start, as you said, the breath, there's, the one of the Taoist poems ever since a kid I learned was, if your breath is fast, erratic, and tense, your thoughts will be fast, erratic, and tense, your emotions will be fast, erratic, and tense, and your actions will be fast, erratic, and tense. But if you can breathe smoothly and quietly, effortlessly and deeply, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions will be the same. So, change your breath, you change your reality. Change your inner core, and you change reality. And that's and if everybody actually started working on themselves, you would actually. That's how you change the world. Look, this is how you do this. Try this. Try that. And that's why I think it is important. But because, like I said, if a big meteor hits this Earth and we all get wiped out, well, there's nothing I can freaking do anyway. I'm good. I'm not that good. So, I can't stop a meteor. Well, not as far as I know. And if I do, then I'll be in trouble because everybody treat me like a god, and I'm not having that one. So it's, it's like, but, there's another life, and there's another reality, and there's another, we've, especially like, that stuff doesn't exist, because if that stuff doesn't exist, if past lives don't exist, then this is the only one. This is the only thing, and you have to worry about it, and you have to panic about it, and you have to run around like a headless turkey or banana or whatever. But it's this thing of balancing the way.
So if the collective soul of this planet is a person, let's just say it's one person, then where would this person be? This person would be in the middle of a dark night of the soul. And so to me, that's what I was watching. And I pull my energy out. I'm not going to affect this. I've already had my 20 dark nights of the soul, a decade of the dark night of the soul. It's fine. I built a condo in the dark night. So, you know what I'm saying? When people one of my specialty by default is I deal with people that come to me in the middle of a huge change and upheaval. But having said that, so I live in Hell's Kitchen, which is, if you Google it, it's one of the most haunted places on the face of the planet. And when I moved in 86, 87, it was also the most crime-ridden part of the city. We were in the middle of a crime wave and a crack epidemic. And I mean, it was dangerous. It was so dangerous that when you took a cab, and like I live on the front of the building, you know, the street is right there, and you would take a cab, they would wait for you to get in the door because there was a chance that you could get rolled or raped or mugged just in that, like trying to get the key in the door. It was that bad. Okay, so I'm walking down the street and these guys would work in pairs. So on one side of the street, a guy would be in a doorway and you would pass and he would slowly like try to be undetected and start following you. And then on the other side of the street, this guy would come and try to cut you off. And so they would be one in front of you and one in back of you. And they would work in pairs. And this went on. And, you know, I have the Jedi mind, you know, I'm like, it's not going to happen. I would just walk into the middle of the street. And, you know, these guys were like, they were hooded. You couldn't see their face. It's like really something out of a movie. And after a while, I just got this baseline. And I don't know what it was, Paul, but, you know, after a while, I just didn't connect. I was like a different person, a different being. And they would just bow. They would bow like, you're not going to, you know, if you want darkness and violence, I can give it to you times 100. You're going to lose. I promise you. There is shit protecting me that you don't want to freaking know about. And if you fuck with me, you will lose. You'll probably be dead in a couple days. And they would just, so the forces of darkness, I don't know what particular, like the fire and water, liquid fire type of balance, but it's, you know, like Obi-Wan Kenobi going into the bar saying, you know, you don't need to see their IDs. And these guys would just bow down and let me pass. But that took 20 years. I mean, but it, you know, now they don't, they just bow their head. Like, you know, these guys that have killed people, you know, half an hour earlier. So yes, your projection, what you become inside does get reflected back. Absolutely.
You know, because the whole in the show I say, you know, this is about spirituality and science. I love both. I love both because one of the reasons I love both is that, especially quantum physics and the psychology that's about now, quantum psychology, is proving the ancient knowledge. The ancient knowledge. The ancients have been talking about that this is illusion, this is a dream, that we are in many layers and levels, and there is, you know, in Taoism, there's the great quote of that the great sage was asleep, and he saw himself as a beautiful butterfly in a field, and then he woke up, and then he suddenly realised he didn't know which one was the dream and which one's reality. And the whole idea is that there's so many, you know, layers and levels. And I've seen people who are in their heads living in the past. They're still in the past. They're still living, and that's really real to them. You can see there's a, you know, and so there are layers upon layers. But it's the whole thing of when you come back to center. There's a Taoist saying about coming back to center. You have a circle and a dot, and that symbol itself is in many different religions. But the circle and the dot is Wu Qi, which means unlimited possibility, and the Zen or the focus or Chan is the coming back to center. So you are in unlimited possibility, coming back to center. When you do that, things around you change. And I've done it, like I said, I've been bullied and beaten up as a kid, and then just learning how, you know, just coming back to your own center, and people act differently and people react. And yeah, I've been in Japan, but with the Yakuza and tribes in China, and seen some scary mother who looked at me and gone, and then walked over, like walked the other way. And it's like, yeah, whatever, it's all good. Don't think you. And I heard people, what the fuck just happened? Don't think about it. Don't talk about it. Just keep on walking. Just keep on. Don't highlight it. Just keep on walking. And it's because that's the whole point. There is ways of doing that. But it's realizing that all of this going on the outside is just noise. It's just flashing lights. It's to distract you. It's trying to stop you from seeing stuff. And when you start focusing within, things can change. And you start acknowledging those beautiful sunsets and the birds singing and your beautiful pets, or your partner, your spouses. When you start seeing the beauty of stuff, you start acknowledging that and being grateful for that, and just sending love out there just because you freaking can. Not because it will change things. Just send love out there because you freaking can. And things will be different. Things change. Things do. They really do.
All right. I'm sorry to say I need to start wrapping this up. I'll leave you with this. My spirit guides in meditation, will say, we want you to take a 40-day commitment to a meditation or a contemplation. And so, it was, I don't know, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, they said, you're taking a 40-day meditation contemplation on love. 20 minutes. We're not going to guide you, but you're just 40 days, hit your mark, 20 minutes. And I got to tell you, Paul, I mean, that was one of the most, and I told them, I don't want to do this. Like, don't push me around. And this is bullshit. I don't want to do it. And they're like, no, you're doing it. So it just was like, all right, yeah. And it was so instructive. I can't tell you how instructive it was. Through silence, really just the silent contemplation of that thing. I feel that I was more expanded. And I don't really look in the mirror and say, you're such a loving person, or I don't really relate to myself that way. But anyway, it expanded me. And so now the one I'm doing now is on miracles. So I'm choosing to contemplate, and a daily contemplation on, leave it open to the universe to surprise you. You know what I mean? Instead of saying, I want this and this, just I'm choosing to expand and experience miracles. Any miracle all day long. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, as we get to say final thoughts. So that's about it. There is no big finish. Just, yeah, I don't know, Paul.
That's a great finish. That's it's been my friend. It's been great to speak to you again. I always love talking to you. It's always enlightening. I love your energy. I've always loved the stuff you do. You take care, my friend, and I'll speak to you soon.
Shakti, namaste. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. I receive
it. Hope you've enjoyed this. You take care. See you again soon. From the mighty Kirk and myself, take care. Bye for now. Love, Chi, and Shen. We're out. Bye-bye.